Ozempic maker defends high price in US. It helps cut obesity costs. They are headquartered in Denmark, and Novo Nordisk, a Danish drug maker, has manufacturing sites in 9 countries, including the United States, Denmark, Brazil, China, France, Algeria, Iran, Japan, and Russia. Novo Nordisk's CEO appeared before a Senate committee hearing next month, where he is scheduled to testify about pricing in the US for diabetes and weight loss drugs. Senator Bernie Sanders, chairman of the Health, Education, Labor and Pensions Committee, told NBC News in June that he planned to ask Jorgensen why Novo Nordisk charges 10 to 15 times more for Ozempic and Wegovy in the US than in other countries. According to the Help Committee report, Wegovy charges about $1,300 a month in the US, while the drug can be purchased for $186 a month in Denmark, $137 in Germany, and $92 in the United Kingdom. Clearly, Novo Nordisk is defrauding the American people, Sanders said. If you think about it, there are regional prices for many products. But why is it that with a median salary of $48,000 in Germany, a drug costs $137, but in the US, with a median salary of $74,500 per year, a drug costs as much as $1,300 for a 1-month course? The annual salary in the US is about 55% higher than in Germany, but the cost of the drug is almost 1,000% more. Just think 10 times the cost of the drug in the US than in other countries. A study last month showed that Ozempic can be produced for less than $5 a month. Sanders noted that Novo Nordisk charges much less for the same drug in other countries. The company charges $969 in the US for 1 month of Ozempic, but only $155 in Canada and $59 in Germany. Once again, pharmaceutical companies are charging dozens of times more for drugs that are cheap to produce than they would cost on their own. And it's fair to assume that the $5 price only includes manufacturing and doesn't take into account the expensive research that went into creating the drug's formula. So there you have it. The $59 price and the $155 price in Canada has a valid point, although still most of the price is still the company's net profit. But the price of $969 for residents of America, that's just insane. Literally, for neighboring Canada, the price is many times lower. Sanders also outlined in stark terms the dilemma facing US insurers, including the government, given how high the cost of potentially life-saving drugs is. If the prices of these drugs are not significantly reduced, they could bankrupt Medicare, Medicaid, and our entire healthcare system, he wrote. Sanders also laid out in stark terms the dilemma facing US insurers, including the government, given how high costs for potentially life-saving drugs are. On Wednesday, in response to a letter to CNBC, Novo Nordisk said it agreed with Sanders that access to medicines is important, but emphasized the complexity of the healthcare industry. These are typical excuses from pharmaceutical companies. Novo Nordisk declined to provide CNBC with information on manufacturing costs after the study was published, which further confirms that they can't back up their position. And they simply inflate prices for the average American, thinking that with higher incomes than the rest of the world, Americans and healthcare regulators won't notice the higher drug prices, and the company will be able to make super profits, which they are already doing successfully. What is your opinion on this situation? Do you think it is just a fraud, or do you believe that there are factors that could have influenced such pricing? Write about it in the comments.